everybody, it's Doreen, and I'm back today with a birthday card, and this card I've made for my mother-in-law. So now, the card that we're making today, we are going to be using the silhouette, but if you don't have the silhouette, you can piece this together using if you have them, the card creator dies, letter A and B, or you can use just your paper trimmer. And you can also use various punches to get the look for the card. So what does our card look like for today? This is the card that we will be making. So come on and join me, and I'm going to show you how I made this card.
Okay everybody, so the first thing we're going to do is I'm just going to show you how I did my little banner pieces using the print and cut. So I'm going to go ahead and find my banner, and that is in a folder that I've called banners, and it's this one right here. It's called the 6 banner set, and I will put the link for this Silhouette Studio file that I got on the Silhouette online store in the description bar. So one of the things I want to point out is I am still using the older version of the Silhouette Design Studio. I have downloaded the updated version, but I'm not ready to use that yet. I want to make sure they've got all the kinks out of it and the little bugs that people have been finding before I start using it. So, and then I also have to learn how to use it. So I'm going to just continue using this version that I have. If you have the newer version, you should be able to figure out how to do this with no problem. So what I've done is, because this is going to be a print and cut file, I've gone ahead and I've revealed my mat by going to my mat and then going to the reveal cutting mat line, and then I've also turned on my registration marks so that I can show that I need to put my image anywhere in between this area here. And then I've also gone ahead and set up my mat to do an 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper, because that's what size my printer prints. So now here is our file, and I only want to use just this one right here. So what we're going to do is we're going to click on our image, and we're going to right click, and then we're going to click ungroup. So that's going to ungroup these pieces, and this is the only piece that we want to work with. So I'm just going to real quickly grab all of these pieces and hit the delete key on my keyboard. So this is the piece that I want to work with. So now let's go ahead and resize this to the size that I want. And I just did this basically based on when I laid out my card, how I wanted it to look on the card. So I'm going to go to my actual size here, and I'm just going to ungroup this for just a second so we can get what size this actual one is. So let's go to our scale window, and I'm going to give you the measurement. This measures, the width is 0.795 and the height is 1.760. So that's what size we're going to make this one, the one that we're going to work on. So let's go back to our sample here that we have, and we're going to change the size of this. So as I said, the width is going to be 0.795 and the height will be 1.76, and I'm just going to click apply. So that's what that size looks like, and I'm going to zoom in here just a little bit so you can see that. Let's see. Okay, that should be big enough for you to see. So now what we want to do is I want to get the little chevron image inside here so that I can use the print and cut feature. Now if you have chevron paper, then you can go ahead and just cut this out using your paper. Or if you don't want to do this particular image, this works the same way when you do your print and cut. So now I got the chevron design, which is, let's go over to our fill pattern, and as you can see, I'm going to go down to where it is right here. So if I click that, you can see that put that right inside there for me. And then if I want to move it around, we're going to click the advanced button here, and this is where you can go ahead and stretch it out and move it around to however you want it. You can make it bigger, you can make it smaller, however you want to do it. So let's see if I can just do undo. And I'm going to show you how I bought this image. Let's go back down to the image, how I actually bought this in. So now I got this image, and it is a digital paper image off of this website, which is, I believe, spellbinder.com. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put a link to the URL or the web page in the description bar, because this was really kind of me just typing in Google free digital paper images, and that's how I got and found this website. So like I said, I will put this in the description bar. So now this is the image that you want to download, and it says right here to go ahead and just click. Let's see, make sure we go to the right one. You'll click here, and this is how you'll get and download all these images. Now you'll save them wherever you want on your computer, and then once you save them, you're going to go ahead and import those into your library of your Silhouette. So I'm just going to go ahead and show you how to do that. So now to import an image, you're going to go up to your file, and then you're going to pick import to my library. Now you'll have to know or remember where you saved the file, and I do have a folder called digital papers, and then I have folders inside that. So this saved it as a file like so, as a JPEG, because that's the folder that I have it in. And then the actual image is the Chevron, it's called Honeysuckle. But since I already have that one saved, let's just pick another one. So I'm going to just go ahead and pick this one, and I'm going to click OK. So now this opens up and gives me an option to give it a title, and it tells you the file name. So I'm just going to put in here Chevron image, or Chevron. And then if you want to put in a description, I'm going to just put in a little description: free digital paper Chevron. And let's make sure we spell that right. And if you want, which I'm going to do, I'm going to put where I got this. And that's just a reminder for me, so that if I decide I want to know where I got this from, I'll remember. And I think what I'm going to do is actually put the actual web address in there. So we're going to just copy that, and we'll go back to our Silhouette, and I'm going to put that link in there so I at least know where that is. And if you want to put the artist, you can go ahead and do that. Now this is something that you'll need to remember. You'll need to choose the category, and since this is a print and cut, this is where we're going to put it. If you put it in the regular cut, it will be there, but when you go to drag this into your fill pattern, you won't see the image. And ask me how I know that, because that's what I did, and then I couldn't find the image. It was just a blank black square, but if I clicked on it, then it would import it into my image, but I couldn't actually see it over in here. So you need to make sure you make this a print and cut category. So now we'll just click OK, and if we go back to our library, we should see this is the image right here, and it's called the Chevron. It looks like that standing for light, or LIG. So now you're wondering, how do I get this into, let's go back to basic here, because these images, your Silhouette Design Studio software does come with some images on there, but you get these images here. Oh, and I clicked on that, so now that's that. So you get these, but then down here it says my pattern. So these are the ones that you have downloaded. So we want to get this over to here. Now you could try and do a drag and drop, and that's the first time I've done that, so let's see if that worked. And as you can see, nope, that didn't work, or at least I don't see it. So what you'll have to do is actually drag it into my patterns. You should have a folder in your Silhouette Design Studio software called My Patterns, and that comes with the software because that is your images or your digital paper or fill-in pattern that comes with the software. So now if I go down to the bottom here, there is the image. So let's go back to our mat and let's click on that, and so now we have that image there. So then once from here, you'll go ahead and follow to do your print and cut. So let's go ahead and just pick this one. And then the other thing that I've done is I went ahead and changed my line pattern just for the outside on my border edge. I changed it just to make it a different color. And if you want to thicken it up, you can thicken it up like so by just going to your line style window and then just moving your line thickness. Once you've done everything that you've wanted to do for your banner, then you will just go ahead and follow the print and cut steps. So you would send it to the printer, and then once you've sent it to the printer, you will go back and you will do your cut process. So as you can see, when you go to cut this, it is only going to cut just your banner. It will not cut the chevron in the inside. So now for the happy birthday, let me get out of the cut style window. I used a banner, another banner, so let me go to my banner folder, and I believe I used the 3D banner curve, which is this one, and we'll just put that out there. And then I went ahead and sized it the way I want it for the card, and then I did the print and cut again by using putting the happy birthday inside the banner. Now the font that I used was the Aharoni Font, and I will also put in the description bar where you can get that. I'm not sure if that's free anymore, but I will go out there and look for it, and if I have the link where it's free, I'll include that in the description bar. So that's it, everybody. That's how I set up my chevron pattern and my happy birthday to use the print and cut. So now meet me back at the table, and we're going to put this card together. Okay, everybody, so you should have gone ahead and laid everything out on your mat and gone ahead and done your print and cut. So we're going to just go ahead and put our card together. So I'm going to use my new trim and scoreboard that I got from Skylar. So this is going to be the first time I'm trying this out. And what I love about this board is it has the measurements right up here on the top. So it tells you the 7/8, 3/4, 5 inch, 1/2 inch, 3/8, and so forth. Which, as we all know, I do not like to measure. So I really like this part of the board itself. So we're going to make our card 4 1/4, and I've kind of got it by 5 1/2, and I've kind of got it already lined up. So we're just going to go ahead and just cut right down. And there we have, so you can save this piece for another card.
So yes, we're using some of that pink cardstock. So now we're going to do the scoring part. Now what I typically would have done is I would have already gone ahead and cut out my card using my Fiskars paper trimmer, which looks like this. And then after I did that, I would go ahead and either just fold my card in half and score it, or I would take out my score buddy and then go ahead and do my scoring. But with the We Are Memory trim and scoreboard, you don't have to do that. You have your paper trimmer as well as your score board all in one. So it does come with your scoring tool for you to score. So what we're going to do is we're going to open this up because we want to score this at 5.5. So we're just going to go ahead and open this up, and then you're going to take this and we want to make sure we lay it flat and line this up like so. So now when you flip this back over, you actually have a 12 by 12 scoring board. So now the next thing we need to do is flip this up, and we're going to make sure this is flipped down to this side. And then we're just going to score at 5.5. So I'm just going to line this up on the edge here, because you want to make sure you line it up on the edge of this. And then I'm going to take my scoring tool. Let's get that out. And if you want, you can move this way as well. And just move your blade down out of the way, because you don't want to cut, you want to score. And that is magnetic, as I said, and it will stay. And then I'll just go ahead and score at 5.5. Make sure you go in the score line and don't go off the board like I just did. And then I can go ahead and take my card and fold it. And then I have my 4.25 by 5.5 inch card. So I'm just going to take the tool and score down here, and then we'll be ready to start adding on our layers. So then once you've done that, you can go ahead and flip your board back over. You can leave it open if you want, but I find it's easier to store by just closing it back up. If I'm going to do a lot of cards, then I would leave it open, but since we're just doing this one card, and then I'll slide my scoring tool back in there. There's a little slot that you can slide that in. And then I'm ready to use my scoreboard and paper trimmer another time. So let's go ahead and bring up our other pieces, and we'll get started with putting this card together. So now I've gone ahead and cut out my next layer, which is going to go on top. And remember, we're just going to have this showing at 1/8 of an inch from the card. So if you don't have, or you didn't cut this out, I cut this out using my Silhouette, but you don't have to. If you want to know the size of this, this measures 4 1/8 by 5 3/8. And that's just going to be our bottom layer on our card. So I am going to get some tape on here, and I'm going to use another tool that I got from Skylar with my Happy Mail, and I'm just going to go ahead and use the Mega Tape Runner. And I'm going to go all the way across. And this is the 1/2 inch tape. And then we're just going to add that. So I'm going to open up my card so I can get this on here the way I want. And I'm going to line this up. And then we're going to lay it down. So I'm going to try to line that up evenly. So there we are. So we've got that layer on. So next we're going to add our next layer. And the next layer, if you don't have or you didn't cut it out with your Silhouette, and this measures 3 7/8 by 5 1/4, and that's going to be our top layer. Now before we put this on, I do want to use one of my Cuttlebug folders. So I'm going to run this through one of the Cuttlebug folders, and then I'm going to come back and we'll continue adding on our embellishments to the front of our card. Okay everybody, so I'm back. What I did was I took my Doris folder, and I apologize, I don't know the name of this one. I picked this up at Hobby Lobby, and I unfortunately didn't save the packaging, but it looks like this. And then I also went ahead and took my Copic marker, and this is the RV11. It's called Pink, and my airbrush system, and I just lightly sprayed this just to give it just a faint pale pink hint of color. And then along my edges here, I went ahead and took my Tim Holtz Distress ink, and this is the Worn lipstick, and I just put some of that along the edges here. So we're going to add this for our top layer of our card. So we'll get out the tape again and just get some tape on here, and then we'll add this piece to our card as well. And once again, I'm going to open this up and I'm going to add this to the card. So now we have our top layer. So let's continue on adding our pieces. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to take our little banners here that we used the print and cut, and I'm just going to lay them out for right now so I can see how I want them on the front of the card. So I think we're going to just move this up just up to here just a little bit. And then we'll add one here, and then we'll add one down here, and then we'll put our piece that's going to go along here right there. So but before we add this, why don't we go ahead and add our little curved banner, which looks like this. And remember, we set this up to use the print and cut. And here's our top layer, and here's our bottom layer. So we're just going to lay this on top of here. And then I'm going to use my Tombow adhesive to add this. So we'll just get that out and we'll put this together and get our tape on here. So we'll get our tape along here and here. And then we're going to have our tape in the middle. And actually we can just run this all the way across, because this is going to go on top of that bottom piece there. And you kind of want to line up the perforated edge there so that you can get your banner to kind of curve and fold. So our banner will look like so. And then we can lay our banner across and place that down there in the front. So I'm just going to move this over just a little bit because it's a little bit off. So I'm going to pull it up, and we're just going to move it over so it looks a little bit even there. And then your banner will go like so. So I'm going to put just a dab, or I think we're going to use a pop dot. Find one small enough, and we're going to put that on the back of there so we can sit that up and have that pop up. And I want to put that piece, this piece on first, because I want to be able to then add my other pieces and make sure I still have enough room for my banner. So I'm going to fold that down. I'm going to make sure I fold that one down, and then we can add the banner. So our banner will kind of sit up like that as if it's coming off the page. So let's remove the tape backing, and then we're going to press the one side down, and then we'll press the other side down so that when you look at it, it looks like it's coming off the page. So now we're going to get some, I think we're going to go ahead and put some of the Worn lipstick on the edges of each one of the banner pieces. Okay, so we've got our little banner pieces. I've gone ahead and inked those edges using the Worn Lipstick by Tim Holtz, and I've gone ahead and already put my pop dot on the back, or my dimensional, and I'm going to just line this up and place that one, the very first one, and then I'm going to go ahead and place the next one. And I'm going to kind of go down up here, and then we'll place our last one. And then we'll be ready to add the next embellishment. So I'm just going to kind of center this one about right here. And then for the one that I'm going to place here, I'm going to, it looks like we need to move this one up just a little bit, so I'm going to pull that up, and we're going to move it up here. And I suppose I could have marked where I wanted each one, but as I said, I don't like to measure anything. So we're going to place this piece right here, and I've gone ahead and taken my Swiss Dots folder and inked my edges using the Worn Lipstick again. And this one I'm not going to pop up because we're going to add our flower to that piece. So sorry about that, I got a text message. So we're just going to add just some tape, and we'll use our Tombow for this. And we'll just place this along here, along the edge, like so. And then the last thing we're going to do before we add, you know what, we've got to add the bling. I'm going to go ahead and put my flower on. Now I've gone ahead and put the flower together, and I'm going to include the website that I believe her name is Jamie has for putting all of the flowers together that you can purchase on the Silhouette website. So I cut everything for the flower except for my centerpiece, and I did some scraps of the pink cardstock that I had left over, and I went ahead and cut that out, and then I cut everything else for my petals in white. And then I once again took my airbrush system and my Copic RV11, which is the pink, and I just lightly airbrushed it across to give it just a little blush color. And it looks like this. And then I have my leaves here on the bottom. So as I said, I'm not going to show you how to put that together because you can go to her website. She doesn't have a video, but she does have diagrams and pictures telling you how to, or showing you how to put it together. So we're just going to add that right there, and we are going to make our flower pop up. So I'm just going to get a dimensional on the back, and we're just going to add this right there on the top of our card, or on the top of our little banner piece. So that's it, except we've got to add some more embellishment, and you know what that is. That's right, we've got to add the bling, and then I'm going to put my inside sentiment in. So I'll come back with the finished card along with my envelope. Okay everybody, so I'm back with the finished card, and it's all blinged up. So what I did was I just took and added some bling along my banner or pennants, you can call them either one, and just put some in each corner and then down here in the center. And then I went ahead and added some bling along here where my happy birthday, the banner curves at. And then I went and took some butterflies that I had, that I picked up on a previous haul, and they actually are this color. And I once again took my Copic marker and my airbrush system, and I just faintly airbrushed that just to give it a pale pink look to it. So for my inside sentiment, I just rubber stamped out. I took 2 stamps and put them together to put in my inside sentiment, and I actually stamped those with the Stampin' Up! Pink Passion. And this stamp set is, the first stamp set is from a stamp set that I believe is a Fiskars, but I'm not positive. But it basically says the best thing about growing old is that it takes such a long time. And then the second one down here with the flourish is a stamp set that I picked up at a haul, scrapbooking haul. I think I paid $1 for this stamp set. And this was Word Flourishes by Autumn Leaves. And I apologize for that glare. So I just put that in the inside. And then I went ahead and made my envelope, and I used my We Are Memory Keeper envelope punch board to make my envelope. And this envelope paper is from a paper pack that's called, by recollection, it's called Garden Florals. So I use this a lot for my envelopes and for my top layers. And then I just took, I didn't want to put a greeting or anything out on the outside of the envelope, but when I was making my inside piece for my little gardenia, I couldn't get the paper adjustment size so that I could get a clean cut, because I did make this kind of small when I was cutting it out. And as I've said on previous video, this cardstock that I got, that they were throwing out, I don't know what weight it is, so I don't always know what size or to put my blade and the thickness on. So what I basically do is I cut out a bunch of them until I get a good clean cut. And since I had these scraps left over, and you know I don't like to throw anything away, I just decided to just add those using the flowers that are on the envelope. So that's it, everybody. This is the birthday card that I've made for my mother-in-law for her birthday. But always remember, when I'm making a card, I pretty much do birthday cards. But you don't have to make it a birthday card. You can make it an anniversary card, a get well card, a sympathy card, or even a thank you card, or a just because card. So thanks for watching, everybody. Bye.